before the arenas, before the awards.
This is b4Nashville Live. Have a question for a guest?
Send it to us via Messenger.
Here's your host, George Davis.
And welcome back to Before Nashville, where we introduce the country stars of tomorrow to the country fans of today. Thank you all for your patience. We've been kind of having some difficulty, and hopefully everything has worked out now. And I want to give a shout out to our sponsors tonight. That includes Go-Go Tuners. They're the go-to tuners for amateur and professional musicians alike. Also, Three Rangers Whiskey, Heart to Heart Coffee, and Sibby's Apparel. So a big thank you to all of those sponsors for bringing you the show tonight. Tonight, joining me, I've got this gentleman. I ran across his song, and it is an amazing song, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on. But he was kind of raised on the Outlaws, and that's kind of right up my alley. Some of the ones that he mentioned that are influences of his, I really enjoy. And it's Joey Dee. Joey, how you doing?
Good, George. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm excited to have you on tonight and talk about your career and your music and the song itself that you just released a little bit ago. We were supposed to have it on right about that time, but some things came up, so we kind of pushed things back, and Joey's been very understanding. So where are you at right now? I mean, what are you up to at the moment?
Right now, just writing, playing a lot of writers rounds. Like so many of us here in Nashville, looking for that publishing deal. But it's just a day-to-day thing, and working a day job at the same time, trying to make ends meet while we're doing this, and just keep grinding away. Really that's the daily thing. So trying to balance time. Really that's right.
Well, I talked about some of your influences and the Outlaws, and tell me kind of how you got into that music growing up. I mean,
Yeah, it's funny because my dad and mom used to pile me in the car every summer. We lived out in Southern California at the time, and we would drive back and forth to upstate New York, where a lot of my family was at, in Pennsylvania, the hills of Pennsylvania. So, so we'd spend summer in the car, and I just remember my dad. He always had Waylon playing, Willie, Charlie Daniels, Johnny Paycheck, all the old, well, I say old, I mean, there's older country stars, obviously, but, just the guys who really pushed that outlaw movement.
Right.
Chris Stapleton was a huge artist that my dad really liked. Obviously a lot of those guys, including Johnny Cash, turned into the Highwaymen and kind of did their own thing from that standpoint too. But those were the influences. That's what I grew up listening to in the car, and those guys knew how to tell a story,
right?
Whether it was a story about drinking or a story about heartache, they could tell a story. So,
right.
But go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, and I was just going to say, but having done that and being a young rebellious teenager, at one point in time, I got tired of listening to it. I said, I don't want to listen to this. And went off into other directions. Into punk rock and rockabilly and those things, and then eventually came full circle back to country music, because those other songs really, they're fun, but they never really told a story. So.
Right. And that's the big thing about country. It's a storytelling genre. And if you can't tell a story, then, you probably need to move on to something else.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So as you're growing up, you're listening to the Outlaws, and then you get into the punk and the rockabilly. A lot of bands along the way that you were in?
No. When I was younger, I played drums in junior high school and was in the chorus, I think in elementary school and junior high school. But I think towards the end of high school, I played with a well, we had a band, let's put it that way. It was more of a garage band, kind of 80s pop, new wave type of thing. It's called Driver. And of course we all had our ambitions to be as big as anybody else. And we had designed an album cover, and we had never been outside the garage, but in our minds, we were going someplace. So, but it was a lot of covers and stuff. We did that for a little while. And then, I've been inspired by music all my life. So that it just seemed natural to do that, but so many other interests too at the same time. I'm one of those people that, I've always got to have something going on. And, so I was easily distracted in high school and college, and kind of got away from it a little bit. And then, so I didn't really do much once I got out of high school and into undergrad school. I didn't really do much with it. Still loved to sing and things like that, but never really pushed it because my time was just so limited with school. I ended up going to graduate school, and prior to that, I had met my wife when we got married, and spent some time in the Cayman Islands, living down there, and teaching diving down there. So time was well, I guess if it's important enough, you'll make time. At the time, it wasn't the priority in my life. So,
right. So you were teaching diving?
Yes.
So I'm guessing that you're a certified diver.
Yeah, my undergrad degree is actually in underwater technology, which is, the guys you see wearing, like, doing the offshore diving on the oil rigs and pipelines and things like that. So I did that for a while, and then that morphed into becoming a diving instructor, and that's how we ended up in the Cayman Islands. So we were down there for about a year.
Wow.
But interestingly enough, the guys that had been working there for a while actually had a band, and so we used to just go see them all the time, and gosh, I can't even remember what the name of the band was, but they did a lot of parody songs with like a diving theme to them. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of fun. And I was just waiting for my opportunity for somebody to leave the island. So, but unfortunately, I left first.
Right. Well, that sounds exciting. I mean, that's kind of a totally different, I guess, career at one point than what music is. A little bit less stressful, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot less stressful, and all the seafood you can eat. So,
oh, yeah. So when you're prior to the punk rock and the new wave and that kind of stuff, who were some of your influences that you just really like to listen to? And even since then, I mean,
yeah. Elvis has always been a huge influence.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember growing up, and at Christmas time, gosh, I don't even remember how old I was. It was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I got a couple of Elvis albums. Wish I still had those because they'd be worth some money right now.
Oh yeah.
But that's back in the day when like there were actual vinyl records. For those of you that don't know, they had these little vinyl discs that spun on what's called a record player. But Elvis was always huge. He reminded me a lot of my dad at the time, just because the haircut and the sideburns and all of that. His music was just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just something that kind of grabbed hold of you. And so I used to find myself like, pretending I was Elvis and, singing into a cardboard microphone or whatever the case may be. And
right.
I called it the bedroom tour. So, but yeah, Elvis was one. I mean, if I think way back as far as influence, like people that I really was drawn to, Chuck Berry was another one. And then as I got older, even into the rockabilly and punk rock and things like that. Johnny Cash, obviously, a huge influence there because he crossed so many lines as far as genres. And then the outlaw country singers, like I said, Waylon Willie, Paycheck, all those guys, they were always an influence on some level, because I think the melodies that they created, and the lyrics that they were putting out, would always speak to me. There was always something, even though I was rebelling, so to speak, against country music at the time, and I wouldn't really call it a rebellion. I would think it was just kind of exploring other things, because we always, when we're teenagers, we never want to do what our parents want us to do. So if they say this, you do that. I would find myself secretly listening to certain songs by those guys,
Right.
because I liked them, but I wouldn't admit it to my dad. So if you're listening, Dad, I'm sorry.
You can't let them know that you're into the same stuff. So.
No, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, those guys have always been huge influences. And then as time went on, that expanded a little bit. And then, some of the newer guys, Jamie Johnson, Chris Stapleton. Gosh, I mean, when I was late teens, early 20s, I would say even guys like George Benson too.
Oh yeah.
Just he had that buttery smooth voice, and he's an amazing guitarist. And I used to love to listen to his stuff too.
Right. So what brought you into Nashville?
So we lived in Colorado for about a little over 20 years. Had a business out there, and sold it and moved back here to Nashville. My parents were in Clarksville, and my wife's family at the time was in North Georgia. So we just wanted to get back to the South, closer to family. And we decided that we'd been coming to Nashville for probably about 3 or 4 years prior to that, for vacations and to see some shows and things like that. And
Right.
Just the music scene here is just incredible. It's probably one of the best music scenes out of any place I've ever been. I mean, some people would argue that LA's got a great music scene. I know it did, years and years ago, but from what I understand, it's changed quite a bit. And, in Denver, where we were from, there was a music scene, but not anything like there is here. I mean, in Nashville, for those folks that have never been to Nashville, you can go out on any night of the week and find more live music than you can possibly handle at any given time. And it starts in the middle of the day and goes till 2-3 o'clock in the morning. So that's not the case in a lot of cities. Some cities, it's hard pressed to find live music during the week. So that was a big thing. And property values here were less than Colorado at the time. And so we just, wanted to get back to the South, closer to family. And it just seemed like a really good place to settle in, especially being huge music fans.
Right. You talk about the property values being less. You've been in Nashville quite a bit, because they're pretty doggone high right now.
They are now. Yeah. I mean, just in the last couple of years, they've gone up dramatically, and it's amazing. Great for me. I bought a house, but don't come here. It's really expensive.
Right. Yeah. If you're looking to buy a house now, you better have won the lottery. Is all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting pretty pricey here. So, but it's a great city. It's a great town. People here are just, it's just Southern hospitality all the way, and it's nice. It's really nice to be surrounded by that.
Right. So do you consider yourself more of a writer than a performer? Because it sounds like you're kind of looking for that writing gig.
I mean, I love to perform. And I would, I would love to be an artist. But I'm in my mid 50s and I just from a reality standpoint,
Hmm.
it's one of those things. It's like, okay, not to say that it couldn't happen. And if it did, I would be so blessed if it did and so grateful if it did. But an artist's career is can be very finite. A writer's career, those songs endure forever.
Right.
You hear songs on the radio now that were done 30, 40 years ago, and the guys that wrote them were gone.
Oh yeah.
So and I think from a balance standpoint, writing, you have the opportunity to have more hits, I guess, as a writer than as an artist, because as a writer you can put your music, if it's good enough, in front of several number one artists, and so you can have multiple number one songs. Whereas as an artist yourself, you're the only vessel, so to speak.
Right. And that's the way it goes. I mean, like you say, in Nashville, you're kind of a big fish or a little fish in a big pond. I always get,
Mm-hmm.
and so it is hard. And writing is probably the way to go for a lot of artists nowadays. Even if they want to be artists, they still need to do that writing because, quite honestly, nothing else, you're going to probably make more money writing than you do as an artist anyway. When it comes to all the things to do now. And how has things, speaking of that, how have things changed in the last few years since you've been in the business, and from what you saw before to now? I mean, there's got to be, I know there are changes, but how have they changed for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've only been in the music business. Sorry, I'm losing my headset here. Um, in the music business, so to speak, for probably about 3 years now.
Right.
Prior to that, it was, I'd say it was more of a hobby than
Mhm.
anything. Even as a hobby, you kind of always have these aspirations, but you never really fully understand what the business is until you actually get involved in it. My understanding, and from what I could see years ago, was when you had album sales and you had before all the streaming platforms, there was a
Right.
lot more opportunity to make money, without having to do some of the things you do now. Talking to other people in the industry, um, with album sales, there were artist development contracts that were available, and I don't know this firsthand. This is just what I understand, where record companies would actually invest in developing the artist,
Right.
and now they don't. Now they want somebody who's already developed. Here you go, kind of plug and play. So that's a little harder. You have to develop the talent yourself, or find somebody or pay somebody to help you develop you as an artist, and then you go present that package to the labels. And I could be totally off base on that, but that's just my understanding of it, and from some of my mentors here in town, and some of the coaches that I've talked to on that. So it's definitely changed. And um, now with streaming platforms, people don't buy albums anymore.
Right.
You can stream for free, which, from an income standpoint, for the artists, the writers, the publishers, the record labels, it's just, the money's just not where it used to be.
Right.
So
What are some of the challenges? I mean, you and I are about the same age. What are some of the challenges that you've seen as you've come through the music business, even in the last few years?
um, that's a really good question. There's so many challenges, but you also look at those challenges as opportunities,
Right.
and I don't think there's anything that's not that you can't overcome. It's just a matter of how much time are you going to or willing to invest in trying to overcome those challenges. So I would say trying to get in front of the right people. Networking is so important.
Right.
and I'm trying to do a better job of that. Networking, and networking with the right people. But um, I think that's a big thing. And then there's the other challenge is there's so many talented people in this town that you don't even realize. People come here and you might be a big deal where you're at in whatever town you're from in whatever state, and you might have a huge following, and you think, God, I'm great, not to be bigger than life, but you just
Right.
think you're really talented, and then you get here and you realize that, oh, wait a minute, everybody here is really talented.
Right.
And everybody, the Chris Stapletons and the Luke Combs and those guys, they're few and far between. And a lot of people say, oh, they just showed up, and they didn't. They've been grinding like everybody else, but those guys are the top 1% of everybody. And then everybody else falls somewhere in between, just starting and there, and different levels of that. So I think the challenge is trying to make yourself stand out amongst everybody else.
Right.
How do you differentiate yourself from everybody?
What I mean, with the invention of social media, I mean, we've had like Facebook around for 10 plus years, things like that. But now you've got Instagram, you've got TikTok that have come along since the inception of Facebook and, Twitter and that kind of thing. And I'm not picking on your age, because like I said, but as a more mature artist,
Thank you. Vintage.
I felt better saying that than the other way to say it, because that's the way I feel. I just feel like I'm mature. I'm not old. I'm just mature. So is that the challenges of social media, which it seems like a lot of the record labels? I mean, I read constantly at work, about the social media and how labels are using that to find the next big thing. Has that been an issue for you? Have you been able to handle that okay?
I'm still trying to figure that all out. I have a friend, and he put out a song, John Ashburn. I'll say his name, and he put out a song just on TikTok. He hadn't even recorded it yet, and within the first 24 hours, it had thousands of views. And I think that TikTok video is up to 150,000.
Wow.
Views on it, or likes, or something like that. And so then he ended up recording the song and publishing it, and I think they've got a couple 100,000 streams of that song, and it's been probably a little over a month on that. Wow. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why. And then so I stayed away from TikTok for a long time, just because I was just like, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it's there. And then when I put this song out, I was like, well, I guess I should join the TikTok crowd and at least have that additional platform. But that I think you're right. That is a huge challenge. I do know that the labels are looking at your social media presence, because everything's digital now. So if you have a really good social media presence, then they're gonna be more willing to talk to you than somebody who doesn't. So trying to figure that out. I know some people that have used publicists to help them with that. And I'm looking at all these different avenues to figure out how to do it. When I had my own business, I paid people to do social media for me. Right. I had people in my office that I'm like, okay, you handle all the social media advertising and marketing and all of that. I don't want to, just tell me what you're doing and when, and that's all I need to know. In retrospect, I wish I'd paid more attention to them. So, but yeah, I think that's a huge thing these days. And that's where everybody gets all their information from.
Yeah. I mean, the labels, again, I was reading an article, it was a couple of weeks ago, and they were, going back to something you said earlier about the artist development, that's something they used to do, but now what they want to see is, as you said, that you're already developed, you've already got that following, you've already got those people listening, and that's what they're looking for. And with somebody that's writing and performing, 4, 5, 6 nights a week or more, 7 nights a week, whatever the case may be, and then you're trying to write songs, it's hard to build that following because you don't have the time to get on to the social media to follow their action plan, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of times when we're playing, your opportunities to play in town are you play a lot of writers rounds, because you want to play your original music. There's a ton of opportunities to play covers, but this is just my opinion, and I could be totally wrong. I don't think, as much fun as it is to play cover songs and do cover sets and even playing down on Broadway where all the action's at, I don't think anybody's going to be quote unquote discovered down there.
Right.
There's so many talented people down there, but it's other people's music. So you go out and you play the rounds, and sometimes there's people sitting in the audience that you don't even know who they are until you look out there and you go, oh, wait a minute, that's so-and-so of such record company, or that's so-and-so's, drummer or something like that. And so that's where people find the music, and find out, what's up and coming, where they find the new writers. And a lot of networking goes on there, but you're not going to get a huge social media following from that, because most of the people that show up to those writers rounds are other writers. So,
Right.
So, just trying to push that. I think you have to push it organically and just get your music out there. Try and get more of a social media presence out there. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. I released that first single about a month ago, and have been trying to push that. And we did a showcase the week that we released that at the local here in Nashville.
Right.
Jeff Reed owns that. Thank you, Jeff, for that. And so we did a showcase, and I recorded some video there. So I popped a bunch of stuff up on YouTube and on the website. There's some recordings of that. So, hopefully, I think is more of that gets out there, that we'll find that, we're getting a better following. But it's a joke, but it's not a joke. They call Nashville a 10-year town.
Right.
And there's a reason for it, because it's not, you're not just going to show up and be a big deal. You've got relationships to build and networking to do, and building a stable base of fan base and people that know your music and know who you are as an artist, and know who you are as a business person too.
Right.
And I think that's something that gets overlooked by a lot of people, is that the business aspect of it. But that takes time. You're not going to do that in a year, 2 years, or 3 years. So,
Right.
I think I'm still in the infancy stage of that, or at least the toddler stage. So
I think you're right. And I like that you brought that up about it being a business as well, because I don't think a lot of these young people that get into it realize it's a business. You have to treat it as a business. You have to look at a business, you've got to make a plan just like you would a business. You've got to have all the proper, things in order, just like a business. And some of them don't realize that that's what they're running, and they don't last long.
Yeah. You've got, and thinking of it like that, you've got to have a promotion department or marketing department. You've got to have a production department, that produces the product. You've got to have, your CEO. But unfortunately, you are all of those people,
Right.
In the beginning. And then, God willing, if you get to a certain level, then you you can hire people to do a lot of that stuff for you. Or you get with you get a publishing dealer, you get with a record label, and they're going to take care of a lot of that for you. But in the meantime, you as the artist or you as the writer you have to do that. And,
right.
So fortunately for me, I have a pretty good business background, and we'll probably get into that a little bit later, but, so I do know how to run a business.
Right.
And, you have to treat it like a job. You have to treat it like a business. And, even though I've got a day job to, just help pay the bills, this is my second job. Just doesn't pay much right now.
Absolutely.
But it will. I'm optimistic. It will. So
speaking of little pay, you mentioned it earlier that you released a song about a month ago, and the only reason I say that is because of the pay rate that you get for streams on a song nowadays is just kind of ridiculous. But you released a song about a month ago. And I want to talk about it after we play the song, but I want to give folks a chance to listen to it that are watching and let them hear it, because first off, it's the writing of the song is really good. And I want to find out some of the background of that. But the song itself carries a very, very, very weighted message that you need to listen to when you hear this song. It's not it's not a summertime party song. It's not a get the girl in the jacked up truck song. This is a somber song that quite honestly addresses issues that, again, people don't think about.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about that a little bit right after we play it. And again, Before Nashville is being brought to you by Go-Go Tuners. If you're looking for a tuner, if you're an artist, you need a tuner, these are fantastic. I mean, they are amazing tuners. They've got a great technology called Green You're In, Red You're Out. I'm not a guitar player, but I can tune a guitar with these things pretty easy. So I can vouch for them, and I have done it. So you need to check them out, gogotuners.com. Also want to shout out to Three Rangers Whiskey, another one of our sponsors and supporters, and for all that they do. Three Rangers, meaning Rangers past, present, and future. And actually, we have one of their gentlemen online tonight. I know he's on there because he's been messaging back and forth. And so I want to give a shout out to Mark and Dale and Clay and all the guys at Three Rangers for supporting Before Nashville. But before we go any further, I want to play this for you. This is Joey Dee. This is called 13 Folds, and it's on Before Nashville.
Got a fold for the life that he used to have, a fold for God's eternal plan, a fold for his brothers who left the ranks, and one for the Father who knows everything. Got a fold for the country he gave his life for, a fold for his heart that he lost at war, a fold for his brothers in the military, and one for his mama on Mother's Day. When he comes home in a pine box, Old Glory leads the way. Just know he gave his everything, keeping this land free. It's the story of everyone who signed up and took that oath, and gladly walks into the unknown. There's one thing everyone should know: bury him beneath the 13 folds. Got a fold for his loving wife, who was there through thick and thin, a fold for his daddy, who sacrificed his kid. Got a fold for the prophets, giving glory to God, and one for the Holy Trinity. Without them we are lost. When he comes home in a pine box, Old Glory leads the way. Just know he gave his everything, keeping this land free. It's the story of everyone who signed up and took that oath and gladly walked into the unknown. There's one thing everyone should know: bury him beneath the 13 folds. Got the last fold showing us the stars above, and he's right there where he'll always be, basking in a father's love. When he comes home in a pine box, Old Glory leads the way. Just know he gave his everything, keeping this land free. It's the story of everyone who signed up and took that oath and gladly walked into the unknown. There's one thing everyone should know: bury him beneath the 13 folds.
So that's Joey Dee and 13 Folds, and the song itself is, I have to say, I felt really bad after we got into the song because I was like, I feel like I need to take my hat off. I feel like the song has such a message to pay honor to all of those men and women who have come back under those 13 folds. And the story, which I'm going to allow Joey to tell here, and you probably know it better than I do, although since talking to you the first time, I've kind of researched and stuff. Give us some background about the song itself.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk a little bit about the inspiration first,
Okay.
and if that's all right.
Oh, yeah.
My grandfather was he was 82nd Airborne, World War II vet, Purple Heart recipient. Spent the last year and a half of World War II in a German POW camp. And when he passed away, I was probably maybe 13 years old, I think. And he was buried with full military honors. And I remember the color guard carrying his casket to the gravesite, and then the 21 gun salute, and obviously taps being played. And then I just, that whole ceremony of them folding the flag. And I mean, I didn't know what it was all about, but I knew there was purpose behind it. And it was very purposeful, very intentional. And then when they handed that flag to my grandmother, and the tears in her eyes, not just from the loss, but I think the level of pride that was there as well. And so that stuck with me throughout my life. Thank you, Mark. So my wife and I were talking one day, and she'd heard the story about 13 Folds, and she's like, "Have you ever heard the story before?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think so," but didn't really put too much thought into it at that moment.
Right.
And then she's like, you should really write a song about that." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." And I thought, something that had been with me for so long, and I just never knew how to honor that memory. And so I got together with a buddy of mine, Cody Kelly. He's an Army veteran, and we had a write scheduled, and I said, hey, what do you want to write? And, we threw some titles around, and he's like, well, what else you got? And I said, well, I've got this idea for a song called 13 Folds. Are you familiar with the story? He's like, yes, I am. And I said, I really want to write that story. He's like, let's do it. It's done. So we sat down probably about 2 hours. We had the song written, but we wanted to tell the story of this. Sorry, my dog joined us. Wanted to tell the story of the sacrifice and what each one of those folds means, and and it's not just about the sacrifice of the fighting men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice, but also their families, the people around them that are affected, their mothers, their fathers, their husbands, or their husbands and wives. So I think it's important to honor those people too, because they make a huge sacrifice as well.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of stories, a lot of songs about military and about the loss, but I don't think it's ever really been told that way. And so we just wanted to tell that story in a different way and really point to that sacrifice. And it's a very somber song,
Yes.
obviously, but I would like to think of it as a legacy song, one of those songs that will endure for a lot longer than I'm here.
I really believe that with that being your intent, you're most definitely on the right track, because it's one of those songs that you, like I said, if you listen to it and you pay attention to the words, sometimes music is just background for some folks, but that's a song that's meant to be heard. It's not a song that's meant to be listened to. It's meant to be heard.
Yes.
For lack of a better way to put it. And I think it's one of those that ranks up there among some of the best as far as portraying the message that you put into it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And what it means. So, and you're very welcome for that. With the song itself, I mean, is that one that you would, gosh, I don't even know what direction to go right now with what I'm trying to ask, because I feel like I'm just in too many places at one time with it. We'll just kind of skip over that. So the music that you're writing now, what framework are you using for that?
Still in the storytelling framework. I will write, more, I don't want to say pop country, but, more radio friendly type of stuff, now and then. But I tend to lean more towards telling a story. And I think one of my co-writers, said it best one night we were writing. He's like, man, I want to write songs that are going to be just as believable if I'm singing them at 90 years old as they are today.
Right.
And not that there's anything wrong with, beer on the tailgate and stuff like that, but if it's a 90-year-old singing about going out into a cornfield and partying with his friends and drinking beer, it's not going to be as believable.
The effect,
Yeah. Maybe, who knows, but,
Right.
but so definitely still more in the storytelling. And I truly believe that outlaw genre is coming back. I think we're going to see a resurgence in that. You being in radio, I think you would probably be more on the cusp of that than I am. But, you're starting to see guys like Cody Johnson and Dylan Carmichael and Cody Jinks and Jamie Johnson. Chris Stapleton, they all go back to that outlaw storytelling, heartbreak, drinking, songs about life, that anybody can relate to, I think.
Right. I think, and one of the young guys that does it best, which you've mentioned his name a few times, is Luke Combs. I mean, he definitely falls into that whole storytelling thing, like his last three number one hits, Mr. Midas touch there, everything he touches turns to gold, were about his wife, and his love for her and things like that. And he'll throw out, beer never broke my heart, that kind of thing. And it still has a story to it. It's just kind of it's not a straightforward like Forever After All or something that
right.
Like that. But I think he falls into the lines of those same, things. And another current one that I actually got to see him last week that I think is that way too is Hardy. I think Hardy has a lot of songs that are along those same lines. And
he's an amazing writer. He really is.
He is. He's a great writer and a great performer. I saw him last Wednesday night, and just an amazing show. And gosh.
Yeah. I think we froze.
So we'll just keep going with that for now. There
you are.
But I think Hardy is just one of those that does that as well. So it's not a forgotten art, even with the youngsters, thank goodness. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy is the fact that it's not, that's the kind of songs I like to listen to. I'm not opposed to, don't get me wrong, Luke Bryan or Kane Brown or any of those guys, kind of in the pop country genre. Yeah. I don't have anything against them. But I was raised in that era of the storytellers, and that's the kind of stuff I like. I guess that's why I'm such a huge fan of Luke Combs and Cody Jinks and Cody Johnson and, some of the, a lot of the, what they call the Red Dirt Texas guys. Yeah. That's kind of what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with like you say, Luke Combs or Luke Bryan or any of those guys, because there's a market for it, and hey, take advantage of it if you can. Right. And it's catchy stuff. You can dance to it, you can have a good time to it. And there's a spot for everything. But I do think that we're going to see that storytelling come back around again. And those are the songs I think that will probably, how do I say this in the nicest way possible? Those songs will probably last a lot longer, right. throughout history and be cut again and again and again by young artists as they're coming up. Right. Because it's the stories that attract people to those songs. I mean, if you look at a lot of the, Whiskey and You, what's that been done a couple of times now, but it's the story behind the song.
Right.
Was It 26? It's another one. I think Stapleton did it, but was it Charlie Daniels, I think, did it originally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one of those songs that, it's going to get recycled a lot.
Oh yeah.
But music, we're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to make people feel something. And whether it's through a story or through a beat or through a dance beat or whatever, that's what music's about, is making you feel something. And, I did a magazine interview, a couple weeks ago. And one of the things I said was, a good song will make you tap your foot. A great song will make you feel every moment of your life in 3.5 minutes.
Right.
So
I love that quote, and that's great.
So, but it's the truth. So
that is very true. I tell you what, we've talked a lot about music. We've talked about your song. We've had our somber moment of borderline tears and thinking about the 13 folds. So let's switch over and let's have a little bit of fun. What do you think?
Let's do that.
This is a little segment I like to call What the Hell. I throw out just goofy questions to you, Joey, so get ready, all right?
Okay.
I didn't warn you about that. I didn't put that in
You
the
did not warn me about this. This could be really bad.
and I like that just for that reason. So do you have a signature move or a quirk on stage that people comment about?
No, I don't actually. although, I'll back up just a second. I was watching some of the video footage of the showcase that I did back, and I did notice that I do this kind of mule stomp thing. I was like, where'd that come from? So we'll go with that.
All right. Let's see here. Have you ever had one of those "this can't be happening" moments in your life?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Probably the one that stands out the most was, and it's funny after the fact, but my wife and I were dead asleep, middle of the night, and we hear this crash downstairs in the kitchen. And it was glass breaking. And I said, oh my God, somebody is truly breaking into the house right now.
Oh my.
And of course, my wife, she jumps out of bed. She's like, I'm gonna go. I'm like, no, just stop right there. Let's just hang on a second. And, just kind of prepared ourselves. And she had her cell phone in her hand. And of course, your heart's beating 1,000 miles an hour. And, because you don't know, and the adrenaline's going, and standing there at the door and trying not to breathe. So whoever was down there couldn't hear us. And so we stood at the door for literally 10 minutes and didn't hear anything else. And I'm like, either they are the quietest burglars in the world, or they broke the window and decided not to come in. So after 10 minutes, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go down and check it out. And I had a tactical flashlight that has the flashing lights on it.
Right.
And so I kind of eased down the stairs in the dark, and I'm like trying to see, and I know where everything's at in the house. So I know what shadows are supposed to be there and what aren't. And I didn't see anything. I'm like, all right, well, I flipped on the lights, didn't see anything, didn't see any broken windows. And turned out a plate that we had above, a decorative plate we had above the sink, that had been there for 3 years and hadn't moved, decided to fall off and break in the sink.
Oh my goodness.
But it was like, okay, I cannot believe that somebody's breaking into our house right now,
Right.
but fortunately nobody did. So, but that's the one that comes to mind, I think.
Yeah. That sounds like it might be my dog's.
that was mine.
So what's your favorite microwavable food? I can't even say the word.
Oh gosh, favorite microwavable food. I like to take a tortilla and throw cheese on it and throw it in the microwave.
Oh yeah. Now you're talking my language.
Yeah, it's not prepackaged. It's just like sometimes when I come home from a show and it's late, I don't want to eat anything really heavy, so I'll take a whole grain tortilla and just throw a little bit of cheese on it, throw it in there, and heat it up and chew on it for a while, because it always comes out chewy. I always overcook it, but
That's the worst thing about them. There is no perfect time for those, because they vary by of course the microwave itself. Can you do any impersonations?
Can I do any impersonations?
Yeah, I'm curious if you can, and what impersonation do you?
I used to do a lot of impersonations when I was a kid. I haven't done any in a long, long time. Gosh, it's going to be bad, but I'll give it a go. Crikey. So we're going to look over there. We're going to find the elusive alligator. I don't know.
That was pretty good.
I don't know.
That was pretty good. Let's see here.
I wish you warned me about that one.
Yeah. It's one of those I just like to throw out there just to catch you off guard. I can't keep you on your toes all the time. I got to throw a little bit of a curveball. So if you walk past a stranger on the street, what's the creepiest thing that you would say to them?
Oh my gosh. The creepiest thing. Wow. Like creepy thought provoking or creepy scary or creepy like that dude's just not right.
It might be all three.
It could be all three.
It is all three.
Wow. George, you're killing me. I guess this is really creepy and dark. I heard this one day, and it's like, I like people like I like my tea, underwater and in a bag. That's pretty creepy.
That is pretty creepy. That is.
Nobody else heard that besides us, right?
Yeah, we muted that part.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That was the creepiest thing I could think of. I don't know that I would actually say that to somebody though. I'm generally a pretty nice guy. So.
Right. Let me see here. What would be the absolute worst name you could give your child?
Sue. I had an uncle named Sue.
Oh, there you go.
So he was the boy named Sue.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Let's see. Oh, what's the most embarrassing thing you've ever worn on stage or off stage? Let's just say you've ever worn
The most embarrassing thing. Wow. I wouldn't say it was embarrassing, but I worked in a nightclub when I was younger, and I used to dress up as a dancing gorilla. And one night it was ladies' night, so it was the gorilla came out with a G-string on, so it was a stripping gorilla. So
oh my.
I didn't get out of the gorilla suit, but I'm just to clarify that. But
oh wow. That would be pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, it was just a regular old nightclub in Orlando, and on I think it was Tuesday nights they had ladies' night, and they had a male review that came in there, and but they always brought the gorilla out because everybody loved the gorilla. So
right. Okay, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give you one more, and this is one that I've always kind of haven't really thought that much about, but I guess I should have. If you were out to dinner, you've got no cash, you've got no way to pay for it, no cash or cards or anything like that. What would you do or say in order to get the bill paid?
I would apologize, number one, for forgetting my wallet and not having the stuff there, and then I would offer to either help, in the kitchen, or serve, or the business that I used to own. I used to be a chiropractor. I guess technically I still am. Offer to adjust the staff. Something for exchange. There would have to be a fair exchange there to work it out somehow or another. Right. But I know that's not a very exciting answer.
Well, it's a good one, especially finding out you used to be a chiropractor.
Yeah, but if I had my guitar in my car, which in this town you never go downtown or anywhere without it, I would offer to perform as well. So
Right. Well, you were a good sport, Joey. I appreciate it. Those were that's one of my little hidden gems that I don't like to share. So
yeah, those are not that's not what you told me you were going to ask me. So I'll keep that in mind for the next time, George.
exactly. You'll be prepared. Then I won't throw those at you. I'll just go a different route. Yeah. And so again, if people want to find out more about Joey Dee as far as what's going on in your musical life, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you've got the website there. That's my website, and you can get to all my social media from there. But Joey Dee Music on Facebook, on Instagram, it's at Joey Dee Music 18, but it's JOEYDEE Music 18 on Instagram. On TikTok, I don't even remember what it is on TikTok. I think it's Joey_D_music. But if you go to the website, you'll be able to find everything there. Definitely, as far as the music itself, there are a couple of Joey Dees out there. So if you search 13 Folds, you'll be able to find it a lot easier than anything else. But I'd appreciate it if people would, share that song with anybody that that is a family member of a veteran or anybody that's lost anybody. I mean, even police and fire, those guys make those sacrifices too. So the song is for them as well. Appreciate the streams and the support on that. And but yeah, that's if you go to the website, there's links to all my social media pages there.
All right. So if you, again, 13 Folds is the name of the single. And like Joey said, you can find it on all the streaming platforms. You can go to the website right there, joeydeemusic.com, and follow him on the social media. Drop him a hello and just get to know maybe things about him that I didn't know. And then you can privately email me and I'll use them the next time.
Yeah, exactly. And also the song is on iHeartRadio, which I was really, really happy to see. Somehow it made it on there. So if you search 13 Folds on iHeartRadio and call your local iHeartRadio stations and request it, that would be fantastic. I would really appreciate that as well. And I know Cody would, and I think it's a message that needs to get out there. For people. And I know you and I had some discussions about the song as well, and how you guys might be able to utilize it as well for some of the other things that you've got going on. So I'm more than happy that you guys are doing that as well.
Yeah, we're super excited about that and being able to use it. And it couldn't have come at a better time. I'll be honest with you. We were putting that together. So
it's true. Very true. Yep.
Came at a very, very good time. So go check out Joey on all the streaming platforms. Go check him out on social media. Follow him. Stream him. That's the big thing. Make sure you stream the songs. Give him a like. Give him a shout. Give him a follow. And just let him know that you heard him right here on Before Nashville. Of course, again, Before Nashville is being brought to you by Go-Go Tuners, Three Rangers Whiskey, Heart to Heart Coffee, and Civvy's Apparel. And you can catch us on Monday night. We're going to have an artist by the name of Sam Carey on. And I'm looking forward to this. It's a young lady, a voice that is just killer. I mean, her voice to me is just amazing. So you join me Monday night, then you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So until Monday, again, introducing the country stars of tomorrow to the country fans of today. It's Before Nashville with Joey Dee. Joey, thanks a lot, and take care, my friend.
Thanks, George.
See you later.